the bad days don't last. I've noticed a real trap or tendency to apply how I'm currently feeling to my entire life. You know, like, if I'm feeling depressed currently, I'll look back over my memories and I'll seem to apply my current depression to all of those past memories. So it seems like I've always been depressed. Or if I'm feeling anxious, or, you know, if I'm feeling like that sort of meaningless feeling that you sometimes have, I find that if I'm in those moods, I look back over my past and I apply it to every memory. But the thing is, during those times, I'm not feeling like that. A psychologist once got me to prove it to myself by writing a diary and tracking how I'm feeling based on my, levels of depression, energy, and a bunch of other little criteria that I was concerned were, always low or always flat. And what I found was that, I was actually fine most of the time. But when I was feeling depressed, I would look back over and it would seem like I was always depressed. But when I looked at my diary, I could see that I wrote down that during those times, I was actually feeling fine. When I speak to other people that are currently in a depressed mind state or currently struggling, I see the same thing coming from them. They say that they've always been depressed, they're always struggling. And, they might always have been struggling. And, I can't tell what's happening inside their brains or anything like that. But it's clear that they too go up and down, and that most people's moods and mental health fluctuates. So what I'm trying to get at is, even though you may feel that you've always felt this way, it's important to realize that it will change. Your mental state will go up and it will go down again, but it will come back up. So if you're feeling depressed, if you're feeling suicidal, if you're just not in the right state of mind, don't make a decision now that, based on your current mood, that you think applies to everything. A good way to test this is to do the activity that I did. Get a diary, jot down how you're feeling over each day. Maybe 3 times a day, morning, noon, and night. I tracked my happiness, energy levels, and how dissociated I felt. And, track whatever you feel like. You could put anxiety on there, you could put down feelings of hopelessness, it's up to you. But the idea is to prove to yourself that what you're feeling now might be changing or could be different over the long term. And when you are in a bad mental state, take a look over your diary and check back to see whether you actually did feel that way. And if you're a bit of a maths nerd like me, you can actually sort of track it on a progression to see if you're trending up or trending down, or just to see where you're roughly at. Because, objective data is far much more useful to you than thinking about your life when you're in a bad mental state. It would be far more preferable to look at how you're feeling in the moment, each moment, as opposed to prescribing how you're feeling now over into the past. On the flip side of this, though, you'll start to realize that your good moods do go down, and that although you may be feeling amazing right now, if you have a mental affliction, for example, depression, anxiety, BPD, whatever, you'll go back down again. Now, this shouldn't come as a surprise, but I don't want you to let that fact depress you. What I've found is that when my mental state is up, I have a tendency to sort of do too much or put too much on my plate. What this activity did on the other side of things was to make me realize that, my mental state is going to go down. So from there, I was also able to implement strategies to sort of best care for myself, to know that when the fall inevitably comes, I'll be able to catch myself. And that could be by ensuring that I'm not putting too much on my plate, not taking on too much responsibility when I'm in a good place, only to have to cancel it when I'm in a bad place. And also ensuring that the people around me know that although I'm feeling good now, I may come down, as well as making sure to do self-care things that make me feel good. I like exercise, I like meditation, I like reading, and I like writing. I also like warm baths, going outside, sitting in the sun, taking my dog and my son for a walk, those sort of things. Your self-care will be different for you, but the important thing is if you're feeling good or if you're feeling bad, keep implementing those self-care activities, because in the long run, you want to maintain that trend. You don't want to have a high spike and a low drop. You want to just keep going. The final thing I want to suggest is to avoid using substances of any sort. I don't drink or use caffeine at all now. So what I found that in the past was that I would, when I was feeling bad, I might drink to sort of dull the pain or sort of take me away from myself. And when I was feeling non-energetic, I would have caffeine to sort of boost me up. The problem with those two approaches is that one, it's addictive and it's a chemical being put into your body. But two is, although it might help you in the short term, over the long term, it's detrimental. Caffeine is quite anxiety inducing, and I've noticed since I've cut it that when I do have it again, my anxiety levels skyrocket. And since sort of reducing it now, eliminating it, my anxiety levels have dropped significantly. And that's a real positive because, you'd hate to be having something to wake you up only to make you more anxious. What's the point of being awake if you're just fretting about everything all the time? And I suppose on the other side of things, alcohol might sort of dull the pain in the moment, but it's a depressant. So over the long term, the next day and the next week and the next month, the more that you use it, the more depressed you'll overall be. And the more depressed that you overall are, the more likely you are to drink again. So you sort of get into this perpetual circle of drinking, feeling depressed, wanting to recover, wanting to get better, but drinking some more to sort of dull that pain and going down that downward spiral. I do drink occasionally, but it's so rare that it just doesn't make me feel good. I've noticed the effects to such a level that I just want to cut it out for my life. And I suppose the final thing that I want to implement or suggest is to take on a meditative or mindfulness practice. This isn't spiritual, it's not religious, it's just all about you being in the moment where you are now. So there's a bunch of different ways to do it, but the whole goal is to focus on something, an activity or your breath or a point of focus to the exclusion of all else. So for me, I'll do a breath meditation. I'll focus on the breath coming in, sort of around the feeling around my nose, and then I'll breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. And the idea is that when my mind goes off into another tangent, I bring my mind back to focusing on my breath. And what that does is that it teaches me to sort of step outside the ruminations and all the issues going on in my mind and bring me back to the focus that I'm currently feeling. So that when I am feeling depressed and when I am feeling anxious, I'm able to use a simple and quick activity of mindfully breathing to just bring my focus back to the present moment, back to what's actually happening, not what's happening in here that I'm starting to worry about. Give it a try. If you're struggling with the meditation or you want to make any comments about anything that I've talked about in this video, please comment below. I really enjoy talking about this. It's something I'm quite passionate about. So yeah, comment below, let me know what you think, and give it a shot. Thanks. And if you haven't already, head over to my website at zachary-phillips.com and check out the links to my books. In there you'll find a link to my next book. It's called How to Get Your Shit Together. This is going to be a self-help book in which basically I'm helping people move from anxiety and depression and trauma to sort of following their dreams and finding meaning in their lives. I found that most self-help books only follow on one or the other. They only sort of focus on the mental health side of things, or they only focus on the following your dreams and sort of getting after it side of things. And I think that both of those approaches leave you lacking. If you've got a mental affliction and you're struggling and you're starting to recover, you start to realize that you need to have a purpose or a meaning. But if the book sort of doesn't help you with that, you're sort of going, well, I'm feeling better, but what's the point? And on the other side of things, if you've got a meaning or you've got a dream that you want to follow, doing so can be quite stressful. It can be quite anxiety inducing. This extra stress of, the drive and push that you need to do something can really evoke anxiety and cause people to fall into depression, particularly if they fail, which, if you try and do something new, you will fail and you have to learn to keep pushing through it. So my book, How to Get Your Shit Together, is going to cover all of those parts. Head over, check it out, let me know what you think about it, and there's an email list to sign up to receive the email updates, and either through there or through my social media at Zach P. Phillips, you'll be able to see what I'm up to and when the book's going to be released. I'm going to do a different sort of release structure with this book. I'm actually going to release the entire book for free, chapter by chapter, once per month. The book's quite big. It's about 100,000 plus words at the moment and over 50 chapters. It might be cut down a little bit by the end result, but it's going to be huge. The reason I'm going to release it for free is that I want my work to be able to help people, and putting it behind a paywall for people that don't have the money seems a bit unethical. This book is the book that I wish I had when I was 15, when I moved out of home. It's the thing that I wish I could have read myself. Back then, I was quite poor. I was living off, government payments and charity handouts and part-time work whilst I was trying to put myself through school. So this book is basically, a summary of the lessons I wanted to learn. But back then, I wouldn't have been able to afford it. I couldn't afford much other than to survive. So I'm going to release it for free online. That being said, it will be chapter by chapter. So if people, want to read it, they can, but they'll have to wait for it. If they do have the money and they do want to support me, they can choose to purchase a copy. And I'll release it as a paperback, ebook, and audiobook. And the idea is that, if you do purchase it, you can have all of it at once and you have access to it. You can share it around, you can look back over it. It's a bit more sort of convenient to you. And I suppose the other option for people to support me will be through my Patreon. Patreon's a subscription-based service in which you basically give content creators a small contribution monthly, and it helps them to keep contributing. It helps them to keep making and doing that sort of stuff. I've set up a Patreon account at patreon.com/ZachPPhillips, and all I'm asking for people to donate is $1 per month. It's a very, very small donation on your end, but if a bunch of you get together and help me out and all put in, it'll be a massive difference on my end. So check that out. I'll put all those links in the description below, and yeah, let me know what you think. Thanks.